What's the prompt, Josh?
Alright, the prompt is, how do authors shape our understanding of the barriers of the American dream, especially when those barriers are due to conflict, race, and or gender?
I mean, to start, what exactly is the American dream, man?
Well, the American dream is the belief that anyone, regardless of race, class, gender, or nationality, can be successful in America if they just work hard enough.
Yeah, the idea of the American dream was first made by historian James Truslow Adams in the 1931 book, The Epic of America, where Adams described that dream of the land is which should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with the opportunity for each according to ability or achievement.
So what's our thesis then?
Alright, how about this? Throughout American history, many groups have been oppressed based on things such as race, gender, and economic status. As a consequence, these groups were essentially blocked from achieving the American dream. As a result, authors from these groups primarily use their personal accounts to show how their group has been restricted from achieving the American dream.
Seems good to me, man.
Alright, so what part do you want to start with?
We can start with racism.
Alright, so what articles did you guys find?
I used Langston Hughes' poem, I Too Sing America, where Hughes writes this quote that I got. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. This shows how Hughes, as a black man in America, used his own personal experiences of segregation to show the reader how blacks are segregated and, in turn, restricted from achieving the American dream, like how white Americans.
Now, Hughes was a poet during the Harlem Renaissance, right?
Yeah, he wrote several poems in order to go against the vast racism in America in the 1920s.
What about you, Josh? What articles do you use?
I used an article by James Gonzalez titled Structural Racism in America, where he writes people of color face structural barriers when it comes to securing quality housing, healthcare, employment, and education.
So African Americans experience more barriers when trying to achieve the American dream, such as inability to gain education and employment.
Yeah, and authors try to inform readers of these barriers in their writing in order to try to start change in society.
Well, I used the article titled Giving Up on the American Dream by Jennifer Miller, where she explores the African American community's lack of education to crowds such as there aren't many black first generation students at Georgetown.
So lack of education in black communities stops African Americans from achieving the American dream?
Yeah, because the less blacks attend college and get degrees, and they're less likely to get a good job and achieve the American dream.
Makes sense. Alright, let's move on to the gender differences in the American dream.
What articles did you guys use?
I used The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Gilman, where she writes, I sometimes fancy that in my condition, if I had less opposition and more society and stimulus, but John says the very worst thing I can do is think about my condition, and I confess it always makes me feel bad, so I will let it alone and talk about the house.
What does that even mean?
Well, basically her husband is essentially keeping her prisoner by not allowing her to get out of the house, which is a very common occurrence in the past, where men went out and worked and the women stayed home.
Okay, so women being forced to be mothers and tending to the house were blocked from going out and achieving the American dream.
Yeah. What articles did you use?
I used Here's How Women Are Being Denied the American Dream by John Haltewanger.
What was your quote?
I used the quote analysis showed it's a lot harder to reach the American dream if you're a woman. This isn't surprising when you consider the gender pay gap and the fact that we live in a society that gave women the right to vote less than a century ago.
Alright, so because women are on average paid less than men for the same work, it makes it harder for women to achieve the American dream. Although most of the inequalities we have discussed have been mainly resolved through things like the Civil Rights Movement and the feminist movement, one inequality is still very prevalent in American society today, and that is the fact that the economic status you're born into is the single biggest factor in determining whether or not you are able to achieve the American dream.
What articles did you use, Nathan?
I used The Great Gatsby with the quote, "My father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone," he told me, "just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had." This shows how economic class can give either a distinct advantage or disadvantage to individuals who are trying to achieve the American dream. The reason this is because with more money, not only can people afford to go to rich, prestigious colleges, but they can also focus directly on schooling, while poorer individuals have to take jobs and attend school at the same time.
What did you use, John?
I used Carl Lawthorne's article, Class in the American Dream, which states, "It is extremely disheartening to learn that at 250 of the most selective colleges, the proportion of students from upper income families has actually grown over the past 2 decades despite financial aid programs. This proves how the most distinguished schools in the nation are being attended more and more by rich students. This leaves lower income students behind and forces them to attend the more underprivileged schools, which creates an unfair disadvantage for the non-rich students in achieving the American dream. More money, more problems, or less problems."